Friends, and welcome to another video lesson from TVOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is part of the playlist called Python tutorial, and here we'll be learning about the Python while loop. Let me just read it. Let me just paste it here. While loop. Okay. So in all programming languages, a loop can be used to perform something while looping through each value in a data set. In Python, we have what's known as a while loop, as well as in other programming languages. And there's also a for loop. But in this video, we will be talking about the while loop. Okay, so the syntax for the while loop is something like this. There's the while condition, while keyword, and then there's an expression, which is a condition to be tested for truth, and then end it with a colon. That's the first line. While, and then followed by a condition being tested for truth, and then colon. And then below that, you will indent whatever is below your while loop, or whatever is within your while loop, you will indent it with a few spaces. So you can enter there your program logic. And then optionally, you can increment or decrement an iterator. You can see later on. Okay, so let's look at an example. For that, let me run it first. Okay, and then we will see the output. Okay, we see the output. Now let's dissect the code. We are declaring a variable called num, which has an initial value of 5. Obviously, it's an integer variable. And then we write our while loop. Here's our while loop. Note that we don't use a loop keyword necessarily, but the while is a kind of loop. Okay. We use while followed by an expression being tested for truth, which is this one. In this case, num is greater than 0 is being tested for truth. And we end it with a colon here. So again, what this means is that while this condition is true, while the value of num variable is greater than 0, then you want Python to keep on looping or doing these things within the loop. Okay, so in this line of code here, we have the print command, the print function, and it will print this string, enclosed in double quotes, concatenated or joined with this string value, the string value of num being initially the value being 5, and then it's looping. So you're concatenating this string with a string value of num variable and concatenating it further with a period, full stop. Okay. So the printing it's actually printing the current num value of num converted to string via this function over here. I say current value because the value of num will be actually changing. It will be changing at each iteration of the loop. So remember, this is a loop. The focus, the cursor you don't see it. It will be running very fast because it's a computer. We'll go here, it will enter the loop. It will only enter the loop if the condition evaluates to true, meaning this expression over here. If it evaluates to true, then it will enter the loop, which is this. And then it will do this, and then it will do this. Okay. There is something here that is new to you. This piece of code here, num minus equals 1, this one. It's doing, instead of an increment, it's doing a decrement. That expression, num minus equals 1, is an equivalent of saying num equals num minus 1. Let me put it here so you can see. It's the same as this. Num equals num minus 1. Okay, so if we look at this output, let's see. Initially, the variable called num has a value of 5. It's here. And then it comes to this while loop. And this expression, if you remember, is being tested for truth. So now you substitute the value of num, which is 5 right now, put it here. So while 5 is greater than 0, so we will test it for truth. Is 5 greater than 0? It's a true, so it will enter the loop. It will do this. It will print the string. The current number is, and then the string value of num, which is 5, converted to string. So the current number is 5, and then a period or full stop. So that's why you see this here. Okay, and then you come to this line, it decrements instead of increment, it decreases by 1, that's the meaning of this, minus equals. It decreases by 1 the value of num. So currently, at this point, the value of num is 5, but because of this line of code, it becomes num equals num minus 1. So meaning the new value of num equals 5 minus 1, which is 4. So it goes to the while condition again of the loop. And again, we'll test that expression for truth. So while num is greater than 0, but at this point, the value of num is already 4 because of this minus 1 happening here, decrement. So 4 is 4 greater than 0. It's a true. So it will enter the loop and it will again print. The current number is 4. That's why you have this. Okay. And then it goes to the decrement. Num equals num minus 1, or also written as num minus equals 1. So 4, the new value of num equals 4 minus 1. It becomes 3. Then it will go to the loop again and we'll test again the expression for truth, and so on and so on. And it will only stop once this expression evaluates to false. When is that? Once, imagine if right now the value of num is already 1 because of the decrement happening and the looping. Right now the num is 1, then it will go here. While num is greater than 0, then it will test, is num greater than 0? It's 1, it's a true. So it will go one more time here and one more time. But when it comes here, num equals num minus 1. So the new value of num equals 1 minus 1, which is 0. So once it goes back to the loop and gets tested over here, it will be evaluating to false because the value of num now is 0. So you substitute it here, while 0 is greater than 0. So you will ask yourself, is 0 greater than 0? No, because 0 is equal to 0. So this will evaluate the false, and therefore it will now exit the loop. That's the reason why you only have these displayed. Current number is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because after this point, the value has become 0, the value of num, and it becomes false here. And because of that, it doesn't enter the loop anymore. Okay, so now you've seen how a loop works, right? This time, we'll apply what we have discussed in the previous video on user-defined functions. Okay, let me just get my code. Okay. So here, I've added a short function called square to the code. Okay. If you remember in my previous video, we created user-defined functions using the keyword def. So with the keyword def, you're able to create your own function, user-defined function. It's followed by the function name you're giving it and a pair of parentheses, wherein you can optionally add a parameter, which is also called an argument, and then it ends with the colon. Below that, with an indent, is the body of the function. In my case, it's just a one line, which consists the body of the function called square. And after that, I have a while loop. So I am applying what we've learned in this video as well as the one we've learned in the previous video about user-defined functions. Okay, so we have defined the function. Prior to that, we have declared the variable called num, gave it an initial value of 5. We declared a function here called square with a parameter called pnum. and it's returning this. It's returning this symbol over here, characters consisting of two asterisks, is exponentiation or power in Python, meaning raised to 2, something raised to the power of 2. If this were 3, then you're saying pnum raised to the power of 3. Okay, that's exponentiation or power. So let's go to the while loop. The while loop is very much unchanged, same as what you've seen in the past. So the only thing I added here is this function here. Okay. So let's run this code. So the output looks very much similar, except that there's a second sentence here, which is a result of the function we've introduced, the one called square. So after you doing the usual thing, and we know it's decrementing at each iteration of the loop, we also know that the initial value of num is 5, but because of this code here, it decrements, it minuses by 1, it decreases by 1 during each iteration of the loop. As it goes one round, it keeps on decreasing by 1. That's why it's here is like a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But at the same time, because of this function over here, which is being called, see, a function that uses it, it isn't called if it isn't invoked. So in this while loop, I'm invoking the function called square here. Okay, so that's what builds the second sentence here. So it is also displayed because of the print function, but so here's the string, its square is, then I'm concatenating it with the string value of the square of the number. Again, this square is nothing special, but just the name of the function I defined here. Okay, which does, what does it do? It squares the value of the parameter you're passing in. Okay, so it has a parameter. This function called square has a parameter called p_num. And when you call, remember a function will be useless unless you call it. So we invoke it here by its name, followed by a pair of parentheses. And we are passing a parameter to it. So the parameter I'm passing is the value of num, which is initially 5, but as you know, it's decreasing by 1, 1, 1. From 5, it becomes 4, it becomes 3, etc. So when the print happens, it will print the string, and then the string value of num, which at the beginning is 5, so it's this 5. And then here, because of the function square, which I have defined here, it is doing a square, pnum raised to the power of 2. So since the value of pnum right now is 5, I'm squaring it. 5 times 5 is 25. And then I convert it to string prior to the concatenation. So I put it here. Okay, and then you go to this decrement thing will increase the value of num by 1. So from 5, it becomes 4. And then again, it does the same kind of drill. It will go to the loop. It won't go here anymore. It will go to the loop. But this function is being called from here. Okay, so right now the value of num is 4. It gets tested, it gets evaluated. Is it greater than 0? Yes, so it will do. And then print the usual thing, the value of num, and then it will call the square function again to square the value of the current value of num, which is 4. 4 times 4, 16, and so on. Okay, square root of 3, 9, square root of 2, 4, square root of 1, 1. Okay, so that's it. In this video, you learn about the while loop, and we also practiced what we learned in a previous video, which is putting to work a user-defined function which we created ourselves. Okay, so thank you for watching and thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe. Okay, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.